We're pleased you're back. This is a workshop for Electric Day. As you can tell, we have quite a collection of guitar players on stage. We have kind of a rough idea of what it is we're going to do, and we'll see where it goes. It usually ends up in a pretty cool place. But let me do the appropriate introductions here, because these guys should all have a moment. To your left, this gentleman is a Grammy-nominated guitar player. All he needs to do is step on stage and play those trademark licks from Hot Rod Lincoln and Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen. Please welcome Bill Kirchen. Thank you. This guy is an acknowledged guitar expert, not to mention having played with Supertramp, all manner of session work, and a rather extensive portfolio of instructional books and DVDs, as well as his own solo work. Please welcome Carl Verheyen. Grammy nominated, yes. Working for the Grammys, you'd think I would remember that. Our next artist broke through in 1992 with an album called Love Without Mercy. He is a remarkable guitar player, slide guitar player, singer, songwriter. Please welcome Leroy Parnell. The next gentleman, we are so glad he is back at Guitar Town since his debut album, Outward Bound, in '92. He spent his career thrilling audiences all over the world with a truly innovative approach to slide guitar. Please welcome Sonny Landers. The next guy you know all too well, but can never get enough. We're pleased he comes back every year. Please say hi to John Jorgensen. And yes. Okay, so now these guys are telling the host exactly what to say here. Grammy-winning guitarist. Last and certainly not least, a great guitarist, a great singer, a truly great songwriter who's written hits for Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Dixie Chicks with his wife Tia Sillers. He's as much a part of Guitar Town as anyone we've ever had. Please welcome Mark Stelker. Okay, so we spent a lot of time in these workshops in particular talking about technique and approaches to guitar playing and what these individual great guitarists do. But the one thing that we don't necessarily talk about, which is key to actually becoming a good guitar player, is practice. And what do we do to practice? And when I mean practice, I mean actually focusing, not noodling in front of the television, which I do. You know, it's like, what do these guys do? You do?
Oh, yeah.
I'm blown. But I want to talk to each of you about what you do to keep your chops up, or when you're woodshedding on a particular project, whatever that might be. So, Mark, I'll start with you.
All right. Well, I'll say, first of all, when I'm woodshedding for a particular project, I think it's anytime you're learning something new, whether it's a new technique on the guitar or another instrument, or working up a body of material, it's good to break it. This seems obvious, but we often forget to break it down into sections, take chunks of it, work on those. I think for people who are getting started with new techniques on the guitar, whether it's Travis picking or... I'll tune this in a minute, don't worry. You know, if you're just learning to finger pick, use your thumb separately, and that is something you can do while you're watching the TV. Just get that thumb pattern going, do things like that, then start adding in left-hand stuff. So I'll break things down into pieces as necessary, and then start putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
John, for you.
Well, definitely everything that Mark said. Also, you know, it's about physically moving stuff, like microphones. You know, people don't realize that playing an instrument is can be hazardous to your teeth. It's really like an athletic event, you know? And if you're going to do a marathon or something like that, you run. you know, and you pace yourself and you eat right, hopefully, and you get enough sleep and you keep hydrated and all those things. Well, playing and singing especially is exactly the same. If your body's not in any kind of shape, your vocal cords are not going to be in shape, your muscles are not going to be in shape. So try to be physically healthy, first of all, and then when you're practicing something, do it with intention. You know, don't do it mindlessly. And be, I mean, I get a lot of grief because I'm kind of I'm just all very much perfectionist. And but I think that's what pushes me on to get better, because when I'm practicing anything, I want to really, really get it good, not get it like, okay, that's kind of good. Because then when you get up to perform or in a jam session or something like that, you got to have an added thing of nerves, you know, nervousness or performance. You know, you want to do a performance. Yeah. So if you haven't got it down 120% when you're by yourself, then when you're in front of all these people, there's no way. You know, you're not going to be able to do it. So just be real intentional about it, and also break things down, like Mark said. Don't just play the whole song and then slow down at the hard part. You know, just take that hard part and work on that, and work on it with a metronome, so that you're not rushing and slowing down. And a lot of times, especially guitar players are known to rush a little bit, you know, and usually we speed up the parts that are already hard, you know, so making it even harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, practice with a metronome. That's important.
Yeah. So Sonny, you obviously have a very unique approach to playing guitar and slide guitar in particular. The first question is, how did you develop the style of playing fretting behind the slide?
I think for me it was when I got into using open tunings, tuning the guitar to a chord, and I kind of got into that through the Delta Cats and the figure style from Chet Atkins. But one of the frustrations for me would be like playing in a band, playing a blues tune, and it'd be a minor key, but I was tuned to a major chord. And at one point I was just, you know, noodling in front of the TV.
I can tell I'm not going to live that
down. But I could see the note behind the slide. In this case, it was actually an E, but I'm an A right now. So I can see the note back here. So an A major chord, for example. And I can see, which the C sharp is the major, is the third major key there. So I can see the C natural back here. So I just reach back and pick that up. So that kind of opened the window. And,
Sure.
And that's set me on my path. But and in terms of practice, I had plenty to work on from that point on. But and also too, and they're both right about all those things they said. And also, I think it's important to have a sensibility about concept. You know, in particular with songwriting, because that was always a big deal to me. So, like, where do you want to take this piece, and what's it about, and and the emotive aspect of that, what do you tap into? And even when you're working on other people's stuff, it's amazing how many times you go and do a session or work up a song with a band, and you really don't even know what the song's about. So I always try to listen to the lyrics and get a lyric, like a lead sheet with the lyrics, and that's real helpful for me. And then take that to another space in a way conceptually.
Well, and that gets a little bit to John's intention. You know, understanding the intention of the piece, the song, the music, and putting that into your practice. Leroy, so you're noodling in front of the television, but what are you doing when you do that?
Well, try not to eat anything sticky.
Okay, session adjourned.
Peanut butter and jelly's out of the question. Some forms of Mexican food. Honestly, I'm sitting here next to a bunch of my heroes, but Sonny, as far as slide, has probably done more to trailblaze into a new direction than just about anybody. He and Derek Crooks, I think, has taken what Lowell and Dwayne gave us and have their own voice. And I have a very simple technique. It's I tell people when I get called for sessions, I said, you are aware that I only have 3 licks.
But they're good.
Well, they always say just bring all 3 of them. But honestly, if there's something that's serious, but seriously, folks, composition. As a songwriter, we have a beginning, and we have a middle, and we have an end. And I think every guitarist, when they take a solo, or they're backing someone up, or they're comping behind someone who's soloing, which is so important, to understand the importance of being a good support artist as well. Yeah, that's so important. But soloing, I just one point to make, I think, is that every time you take a solo, you are a composer. Ray Charles said that. He said, every time I sing a song, I write it. I don't care who wrote the words, I'm writing the song when I'm singing it. And it's because he understood composition. And that is, I mean, anybody can get up there and blow, right? Doesn't matter if you got 3 licks or 5,033 licks. It doesn't matter. If it's not telling a story, it's just notes. And so I listen very much to the melody of the song, and I play inside that box of melody and try to twist it just a little bit, so it's like remembering what the song was saying to begin with, but with enough differentiation that it doesn't become like, well, that was good. He just played what the singer just sang. That was uninteresting. But by shaping your solo in such a way that it has a story to tell, you're absolutely being a composer.
Yeah, and that's absolutely leading into something that we talked about yesterday that I want to expand on with this group is listening. You know, what are you guys listening for when you're working with other artists, when you're going into a session, or frankly when you're sitting, in front of a workshop and I'm about to ask you guys to play something. But before we get to that, I know Carl has written extensively on all manner of practice techniques. Carl, talk just a little bit about kind of your approach to practice.
Well, I differentiate between just noodling in front of TV and actually studying something, like trying to come up with new lines for the key of F minor or B flat major or whatever. Those are hours that you spend actually, like you say, composing. You're actually working out lines for yourself. But and like all these guys say, there's a lot of what we do is preparing for a performance. That takes a lot of time. And John, God, I can't imagine the last couple of weeks you've had with 3 different bands and 10 different guest artists to know their music. So that's a big part of it, But recently I was rummaging around in my garage of where there's like 50 guitar amps and Leslie cabinets, and there's lots of stuff in there. And I found this little rack, little 2-space rack I haven't seen in many years. I was like, what's this? Open it up, and there was a wireless guitar rig in there. Remember when we used to use wireless and run around big stages? Well, I put a new battery in it, and it fired it up, and my wife was in the garden out there, and I walked out to her with a Stain electro guitar in the garden. She goes, how are you doing that? And I go, I got this wireless. And I realized, I'll put this in my studio, turn amps up really loud, and walk all around the house playing. Not just in front of TV, but everywhere. And it's been fun.
So Carl is now practicing when he's making an omelet.
It's good. And I have a flying V, and you can't play the flying V sitting down. If your name is Brian, you must own a V. And it's just a great guitar, but you never practice it because you got to stand up. So I walk through the living rooms, past the piano, all over.
So Bill, when you're when you're writing songs for a new record and kind of getting that together, what are you doing to keep your chops up?
Well, I've been paying close attention to whatever's been said here, and I'm kind of behind the curve. I don't even watch TV, so I haven't graduated. I tend to noodle watching my dog chase a bug around the place. Note to self, get a TV. No, there's been a lot of great stuff said, and the melody, that's what sticks in my mind. I mean, we're talking about a lot of different stuff. We're not just talking about shredding. We're not even just talking about soloing. We're talking about the whole thing that goes into a piece. And sometimes it's hard for me as a guitar player to remember that when you listen to a record, it's not mostly just people going, whoa, hey, wow, you know. There's, matter of fact, very little of that. But there's a lot of rhythm and a lot of groove and a lot of little suggestions. So I try to remember that. I try to play something I might like to hear. Sometimes I can get going with my fingers. Go, wow, look what I can do. And then I go, well, I would hate to hear anybody else do that. But I wouldn't want to listen to that. So that's something to think about.